Hello, good morning. I hope you've had a wonderful, wonderful weekend. I'm so excited to be here with you for yet another edition of the AM show. We'll kick it off with a message from the morning man, and today's message is called The Deaf Wife. A man went to see his doctor. Doc, he said, I think my wife is going deaf. The doctor gave it some thought and said, well, I need to understand the extent of the problem, so go home and try talking to her at different distances, from 20 feet to 10 feet. But remember to keep your voice at the same volume each time. So the man went home and immediately started the experiment. First, he stood 20 feet away from his wife and said in an even voice, honey, what's for dinner? He heard no response. He moved closer, 18 feet, and tried again. Honey, what's for dinner? Still no answer. He inched closer still, 15 feet. Honey, what's for dinner? Nothing. 10 feet. Honey, what's for dinner? Silence. Finally, the man came and stood directly behind his wife and asked in a clear voice, honey, what's for dinner? His wife turned from the sink and glared at her husband and said, like I told you 4 times already, we are having chicken. Are you deaf? Now, funny as that story is, there actually is a rather important point to it. I'm pretty sure if I were to ask you what is wrong with our society, you would be able to give some pretty insightful and honest answers about our lack of priorities, our absence of accountability, the erosion of our values, the failure of our systems, all the correct and proper diagnoses for our problems. I'm sure if I asked you why you've been in the same job for 15 years, without any advancement, you would correctly detail the plot your boss has hatched against you or, the discrimination you have been battling in the workplace. It wouldn't surprise me if you knew exactly who was keeping you from achieving your dreams, your thoughtless husband or your unsupportive wife or your needy children, or maybe it's the old grandma back in the village. These are the wicked, unfeeling, selfish people who have thwarted your progress, right? And of course, it's the economy that has made it impossible for you to start that business. As for you and your business idea, you are good to go, just as soon as the cedi stabilizes and fuel prices come down and taxes are abolished, right? What's my point? We are great at identifying what is wrong with others, but we so often either don't notice or deliberately ignore what is wrong with our own selves. The government should unblock our drains of debris, but nothing on how we should stop blocking them with our own debris first of all. Our children must do better at school, but we are not prepared to spend time teaching them at home. From the moment that whole Men's Gold saga began, we spent a lot of time talking about how the government and state institutions had failed us. Government, on one hand, seemed baffled that people even expected them to solve this problem. But they forgot that they brought this upon themselves by promising once upon a campaign to bail out victims of another Ponzi scheme called DKM. Now, on the other hand, the affected customers also cried to government saying, you should have protected us, conveniently forgetting how they practically lynched anyone who tried to warn them of the dangers of investing in a company whose logo was an actual pyramid. What other sign did you need? Anyway, in all this chaos, I am encouraged. The final turn of events gives me some satisfaction that lessons have been learned on both sides. It also gives me a glimmer of hope that we might turn some of these issues around for the benefit of our nation. Because you see, the first and most important step to repairing any problem is admitting that you have a problem. I know it's easier to blame others for our problems, but if you insist that it's someone else's fault, then that means you have to wait for that someone else to change their behavior before your problem can be solved. And you have no control over that. But if you take responsibility for your own problems, then the only person who has to change in order for your problem to be solved is you. And you definitely have control over that. So today, let us all take a look at ourselves and figure out what's wrong with us. Our journey to success begins there. My name is Kojo Yankson, and I'll always check my own ears before I call you deaf. Good morning, Ghana.